that stuff, Jason.
Yeah, it's great. But did you press record while we did that? No?
No.
Well, shit.
So we'll never know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I told Will about the secret of the universe. Anyways, Will, so...
It's just an endless black hole is what it is.
Sea of despair.
The pits of humanity.
But when everything is, disjointed and discombobulated, all you can do is pick up the bits and pieces, which is exactly what we're going to do today. Welcome to a new edition of the Bits and Pieces.
How discombobulated is this topic? Because this time, it's Jason leading the discussion.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's actually trying to detach yourself, funny or not, is the kind of the topic of discussion. So, Will, there has...
Is this like a red pill, blue pill situation? Detached from what?
So,
what are we detaching from? Reality? From the simulation, Jason? You were talking about the meaning of life and all that.
Well, the simulation of the 2D plane, I guess, of anime, then yeah, I guess this is to do with that.
This better not be no fucking like anime production shit.
No, it's not.
Okay, good.
Because we actually do have something about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But what I want to talk about, Will, is recently it has come to my attention more. I mean, we get these kind of random ideas, and that's how Bits and Pieces kind of, birthed out of existence, right? It was like we couldn't fit it into an EP or an AD.
Yeah,
so
and Bits and Pieces
it's like more carefree, more like fireside chat, right?
Shower thoughts,
shower thoughts. And I did get this in the shower, believe it or not. So I'm not lying.
Are we having our first ever shower thoughts episode?
No. I mean, we're not in the shower, Will. These mics are not waterproof.
We should totally do an episode where we record while we're in an onsen.
It's funny you say that, Will, because...
that's the topic of today's
discussion.
No,
it's not. But we could do it in a bathtub, I guess, right?
It had to be a pretty big bathtub. I'm a pretty big guy.
I mean, we're both pretty big.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're plus-size models, we are.
But anime is also pretty big, right, Will?
Very big.
So, look, this is going to sound really dumb for me to say, but I'm just going to say it. Anime has existed for quite a while.
Yep. Ever since Cowboy Bebop released, yes.
Yes, exactly. That is the first thing of animation that has ever existed.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay.
Astro Boy who?
What? Dororo what?
Oh, man. I actually really want to see if I can get a copy of like the original Dororo. That'd be pretty cool to watch.
Okay. So one of the things... Okay, I'm just going to say the topic first, so then you can kind of collect your thoughts, because this is spur of the moment for you.
Yeah, sure.
It is how pedigree / legacy / hype can affect your enjoyment or consumption of said manga, anime, whatever.
We are finally going to be talking about this. Okay. Right.
Yep.
Let's go. Lay it on me.
So it kind of... So the thought that was in my mind was things like Steins Gate. That's actually the antithesis, like the epicenter of how this thought... I mean, this is not a very revolutionary thought of how consumption can be affected by external factors. But that's the reason why is because I was talking to my younger sister. Congrats, by the way, on the engagement. I was about to say the name. Younger sister, okay? Imoto-san, okay?
A lot of achievements for her, right? Finished her MBA, got a brand spanking new job, got a brand spanking new keyboard for her brother for her birthday.
She hasn't received it yet because she's not. She said she's coming back to get it, but she has yet to come and get it. So she's in the States. But okay, she was saying how she and her now fiance were watching Steins Gate and was bored as to hell by it. In terms of the first half.
Yep.
And I was like, first half? Like, can you tell me, like, which episode? Is it, when you mean by first half, because it was, like, 2 curs, right? Is it, like, episode, like, 12 or whatever? Or, and then she couldn't really give me an answer. And I'm not, like, trying to grill her on it. It was just kind of, like, gauge, like, roughly where she stopped. And she felt kind of dismayed because I then told her the kind of common perception is that, yeah, a lot of people, and I think even Will, you attest to this, is that the first half is generally kind of hard to go through, but then it all makes it mandatory viewing for the second half, and that's where all the meat and potatoes are, right?
Yep.
And that's what makes it one of the best animes of all time. Obviously, I can't attest to that because I didn't watch that far as well. Another one that is in a similar vein was Clannad and Clannad After Story. Is another one of those very common where like After Story is one of the best. And my sister watched both. And she loved... She watched After Story without watching Clannad, loved Clannad to bits, and thinks it's one of the greatest things ever created, and then read the Wikipedia entries for Clannad to get context. But in both of these cases, it was external factors, one that gave her a positive perception, or like a more, I guess, typical perception of Clannad After Story, and the fact that she watched it, greatest of all time, versus Steins Gate, where it was still considered by many the greatest of all time, but then she couldn't stand it. And that kind of difference is like, why should it be like affected by external factors? Should it be affected by external factors? And is it wrong to feel the way that she felt or how I feel about a certain show?
I think basically the way that the world works is that you're either on one side of the fence or the other. You either are with the crowd in terms of loving something, and then you're seen as just someone that's bandwagoning on like a hype train, or you're just, you know what, I don't really care about this. I don't want to, be like, I don't want to like devote time to this, and then you're just branded as a hater. You're just branded as someone who just wants to be like a hippie and like on the outside, it's like not really giving shit about things. I think in the sense of when it comes to talking about hype shows or shows that carry a very a certain degree of pedigree, the thing that usually holds me back from watching something is, well, the main thing, me being lazy, right? But two, not necessarily wanting to watch something that is like in like the midst of its crazy hype train. Not to say that like I just want to be different and just, only watch stuff that no one cares about, because I don't only just watch obscure shit, right? I do watch a lot of like the super popular anime series that have come out.
And a lot of those probably you consider them in very high regard, right?
Yeah, like, but at the same time, it's also like I watch a lot of these things way after they came out. I did that with One Punch Man. I did that with Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer. I did that as well. I didn't watch that at launch. But then there also are some series that I did watch at launch, like JJK, like fucking Chainsaw Man. So yeah, like there's going to be things that, well, actually no, I lied about Chainsaw Man because I already read the manga, so I was already on the hype train way before the anime came out.
Yeah, we were already touting about like how awesome
we had left
it is.
the station already. We were already at our destination by the time people started watching Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, and the thing of, okay, Jason, hype, pedigree, legacy, why is it like anime and manga is especially pertinent, right? The first thing is because, well, this is the GAP.
And I would say as well, it's like these kinds of attitudes I have to like anime, I also kind of carry with live action or other mediums as well.
Yeah, and of course you can follow a TV show week by week, but nowadays with binge culture and everything releasing as almost pretty much in one go, anime for the most part, simulcast, simulpub is such a big deal. Right? You don't have to adhere to it in a sense of, I'll just wait till the next volume comes out rather than follow it chapter by chapter, right? Or, I can wait 3 weeks for the free webtoon version rather than pay coins or whatever currency to read onwards, right? But
if we just go by the standard weekly release,
yeah,
that is a journey that I think that not just for anime fans, but for fans of any medium, it's a journey. Yeah, it's a collective experience.
And it's a habit, right? Of course, you could say that I'm not in the zeitgeist, in the hype train, on the bandwagon, whatever. And there is value to that. And there's also value to not give in to that and wait for everything to be released and then, I guess, binge it all in one go. There are so many shows where Will and we watch it. And if we are like, wow, if this came out week by week, we would probably lose our shit and just like want like and just like lose our minds because we want to know what happens next, right?
Let's give an example, right? Did you watch Haikyuu like weekly or did you binge it?
I watched the first 3 seasons binged because that was all that was available at that point.
Yeah.
And then Haikyuu to the top, I watched week by week.
Yeah. Would you say your experience differed from watching it either way?
Yes. I think especially with season 3. Season 3 because it was, I think, 10 episodes.
Yeah, it was very short because it was just one match.
Tournament.
Yeah.
One tournament.
One match or one tournament?
It was the finals.
Yeah.
The like basically,
And it was fucking amazing too.
and imagine watching it not week by week. It would have been agonizing. And to the top
For
was
yourself.
agonizing.
Yeah. For yourself, right? As a solo experience, you'd be like, fuck, I just want to know what's going on. But it's that anguish you can also share with your friends and your fellow weebs as you're going on that journey. So maybe it helps lessen the pain. But at the same time,
I mean, that sentiment of I have to wait 7 days to watch it, like everybody experiences that.
waits 1 week just to watch 25 minutes of an anime. It's just like, bruh, like it's a long wait for something, and I totally get that. That's why, like, if it was for me to either watch something weekly or to binge it, I'm more leaning towards the binge side. But I also see the merits of waiting for stuff to come out on the weekly basis.
I also like weekly releases in that because I love anime and manga to such a fervorish degree, I would then try to pursue other animes that if it was all in a binge culture, I wouldn't navigate or gravitate towards, right? Things like, and let's just talk about seasonals. I would maybe watch another seasonal that I would use at my anime list as a barometer, which also is like an external factor, right? Of, okay, that's kind of like not an 8 show, but it's like a high 7s. Maybe I should check it out. And then I ended up adding it to my rotation.
Yeah.
Or, whereas if it's binge culture, it would be more like, oh, and since the anticipation is gone, I just finish it all. I get overexhausted, and I just don't consume that much anime of different types.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a product of our times, right? In terms of like our viewing habits of anime compared to how they were 10 years ago, when binge culture wasn't as prevalent, when you didn't have as many sort of like forum boards or websites for you to be able to share and discuss your thoughts on things. Maybe not 10 years. 10 years ago, the internet was still very much a thing. Maybe like 20 years ago, like
right
further back, right? So, for example, like when you talk about Cyberpunk, right?
Edge Runner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing show.
Mm-hmm.
People fucking loved it. Nobody talks about it now because everybody binged it in like a week.
I mean, yeah, that is the minus side of the negative aspect of binge culture is that once everyone is finished with the meal because they don't have to wait week by week, it causes not only a disparity between how much have you consumed up to this point or whatnot, but then because the finish line is very much set already, everyone can in principle finish it and then end of story.
Yeah. And I think in terms of like watching anime back then versus now, like it was more sort of like, when you watch on a weekly basis and you maybe have discussions with your friends and peers about what you thought about so-and-so series or that anime series. And if you liked it, great. Maybe you can find companionship through other people who also like it too. But for the most part, your thoughts on an anime were your own thoughts, and there wasn't as much reference outside of maybe some IMDb ratings or whatever was on Mal. But nowadays, because of how many people are online, I think what it's birthed over the last 10 years are two sets of people. The majority of people are always in the middle.
Yeah, it's always,
right?
yeah.
There's one side, which is the trolls, which just basically shitpost and just do nothing but provide carbon dioxide into any forum board, just do nothing productive and just shit on something just because they think it's fun or funny. On the other side of the extreme, you have the shills, where they just do nothing but praise the shit out of something, even though, for the most part, people just think that it is god-awful. Like, for example, with SAO. The fact that the ratings are so low in comparison to its popularity.
Yeah, and that can affect, as you said, in this case, popularity versus let's call it acclaim. So critical acclaim versus
The people's choice.
the people's choice, right? That kind of dichotomy is an external factor that is independent of the actual show, right? Like, technically speaking, you could eliminate all that noise, good or bad, and the show will still be the show. So that factor influencing your consumption is extremely obvious to all of us, right? And you would say in Will, hypothetically, you try to not be as hung up on hype, right? I mean, obviously, sometimes you give in, sometimes you really don't care. But more often than not, you try your best to not have it be a factor that will affect you. Obviously, the podcast also affects it.
But it's also
way,
for
right?
sure. It's like, I mean, for sure, I definitely rag on you for like not watching certain shows. You do the same for me as well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, we just do it because I know you, you know me, and therefore it's like we can kind of banter on that because I know what your tastes are, and I try and push you out of that zone, and you do the same for me too. That's fine. But then there are also times when it's like, not just friends, but people that I know, when they start saying, "Oh, this show's fucking great, it's amazing," da 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 da. Like, I'm talking about the time when people couldn't stop talking about Stranger Things, or couldn't stop talking about Game of Thrones, or any of the new shit that comes out on like Amazon Prime or whatnot. For me, I'm like, one, I'm not that interested in those things. Like, I don't like Star Wars, so I don't really give a fuck about little baby Boba, like little baby Yoda and like the Mandalorian. So I didn't give a shit about that. But at the same time, it also doesn't help when I already am not that interested in something, but I'll get around to it when I have my own time. And there are people breathing down my neck telling me, "Bro, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you watching this? The Game of Thrones is the best thing."
So in
And
other words, the fandom, right? Good or bad.
Yeah, right. Because both sides, right? If you really, really love something, great. But just as much as a troll can really deter you from watching something, someone who's overly excited about something and can't stop pushing something on you also does the same like adverse effect on you.
I would say I would nitpick what you just said, but I would explain why. I would say in terms of fervor, right? Fandom, there is ones that would shill, and then the ones that just are toxic in that I don't care how well it performs, how well the actual product is, because it is SAO or whatever. I'm just going to say it's a 1 out of 10. And actually, it's not a 1 out of 10. It's probably like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. But I'm just going to review bomb it because fuck you.
Sometimes it might not even be I hate SAO. It might just be I hate Kirito.
Or
so
I hate isekais, right? I hate lone wolfmen, or I hate romance. You know, there's so many reasons, some of them way less like justified than others, but
and some just okay, yeah, no, that's cool. That's your opinion. That's completely fair. You know?
Yeah. But trolls, I would say, fit in this other dichotomy of spoiling people's fun, which goes into spoilers, versus have essentially a media blackout. We have friends, and I at least attribute to it, where if there's a certain thing, like for example, Elden Ring is a game that has already been released for eons now, but I don't know and will avoid any YouTube videos or anything about Elden Ring, despite many of my friends loving it to death, it receiving Game of the Year awards, and I've pretty much played every single Souls game in existence. I still haven't touched Elden Ring yet.
Yeah.
But I still have a media blackout because I don't want to corrupt how I feel as much as I can. I can't mitigate all of it. But
because there may be one day when you finally blow off the dust off your PC or your PS5 and just be like, yeah, I think it's time to play Elden Ring. Why not give it a shot?
Well, it's going to be soon regardless, but it is going to not be right now, or it wasn't then, right?
Yeah.
So then I had to make it a stance to try to avoid spoiling my consumption of it by not being spoiled. But
because at the end of the day, something that's so acclaimed and you're not watching it at the time, you then just end up like Wikipediaing it. You end up sullying like in your mind the reputation of the series because so many people loved it. There must be something that's good about it, but then you go ahead and you shortcut the whole experience, and then it just makes you feel like, well, I guess there was nothing much for me to enjoy in the first place.
Yeah, and people's sensitivity to spoilers is something that I deeply admire and respect as much as I can, right? Sometimes I troll people in the sense of like I say it's a spoiler, but it's not really. But I guess if you're being super nitpicky about it, it is technically a spoiler. So I just felt the need to kind of be cheeky about it. But I would say between Will and I'm the one that says, "Isn't that kind of a spoiler, Will?" And you're being like, "Whatever."
So there was this prank that I saw quite a while ago. So it's a YouTuber group, a streamer group called Offline TV. It's like
I love them. Yeah,
yeah. So a while ago they did a video where they pranked one of their members by spoiling the ending to season 2 or season 3 of Attack on Titan. But what they
who was spoiling who?
The house was spoiling Fed, who no longer exists there because he did some naughty stuff.
Yeah.
But they spoiled him by basically saying what happens by basically watching SAO and watching Attack on Titan.
Oh, by the way, let's not try to actually spoil anything.
Yeah.
In this whole
by
BP.
basically they have like a watch group. They're watching an episode, the latest episode of Attack on Titan. They watched it as a rerun because he hadn't watched it yet, and then they basically started like forcing him to watch more when they start spoiling the rest of rest of Attack on Titan.
Now I get that's a prank,
except that was a prank because what they made up was not real. They basically created their own ending, but the shock
and the feeling
the despair,
of I don't like that. Like that's such a shitty thing. I get it's a prank, right?
They also did it to someone who deserved it because he kept on pranking people in the first place.
Right. Yeah. So it is kind of like Schadenfreude, right?
Like sweet retribution.
Yeah, and also if you know IRL history, there with Fed there was a reason. And
but for me, I've said many times, I don't care too much about spoilers. I said that boot. Oh, I'm really showing how Canadian I am. I don't care too much about it, like spoilers. But when there are certain series that I do give a fuck, and you do spoil it for me, ooh.
Wait, so if
rain like fiery hell on.
So are you gonna spoil me now? In that if I were to like cut you accidentally, you will bleed maple syrup?
I'm not that Canadian.
Oh, bro. Okay.
I've never played ice hockey.
Wait, if I say moose, what would you say? You also don't apologize a lot. So
no.
Yeah.
Fuck that, no.
You're quite shameless in terms of not apologizing.
It was really funny, actually. When I was in Canada, I actually bumped into somebody. Like, for me, I actually, like, not intentionally, but like, I was walking, and I bumped into somebody, and that person apologized to me. I was the one that pushed them, and they apologized. Oh, sorry. It's like, oh, wow.
Well, it's very Japanese, like, sumimasen, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but going back to spoilers, this also came about when I had to explain why Oshi no Ko is really good. And then when I was like, okay, so just watch the first episode, right, Jason? I'm like,
what's so good about the first episode?
No. I just want to let you know the first episode is not 25 minutes; it's 90 minutes. It's like, okay, wow, 90 minutes for one episode. So what's it about, actually? And I'm just like it's about idols. I'm like, yeah, I can tell from like the poster, but like, what's it about?
It's done by Doga Kobo. No shit.
Who's Doga Kobo?
Yeah.
They didn't even know that. I'm just like, okay, I just couldn't explain it. I just said like, this friend wasn't a friend where I could use the reasoning of just trust me, bro. We have a good amount of friends where if we say trust me, bro, and we're like, really serious and mean it, because we don't cash it and we don't say that like frivolously, right?
That's how it was for me when, like, the game Inscription, that card game.
Yeah.
So basically, I was the same thing. I asked our friend group, hey, like, what do you guys think about Inscription? I'm in lockdown.
Even I would say that.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, play the game. Don't read up anything on it. Don't ask anything about what the game's about. Just play it and you'll love it.
Yeah.
I was like, sure, okay. Because I trust these people. But when it's like, I'm meeting someone for the first time and they've never watched any anime, and you're like, so, what's Attack on Titan all about? I cannot explain a single thing to them that would make them want to watch Attack on Titan because it would spoil their experience.
And then obviously you get online trolls that would spoil the heck out of people. And obviously there's a lot of like forum moderators and
to
stuff.
Be fair, like, these are like more extreme cases of trolling.
Yeah.
Right? Like the legitimate, like, you are just being an asshole troll.
Yeah, and because you're anonymous, there's not a lot of ramifications. Oh, you get banned big deal. I'll open another account or whatever, right?
I'll just post it in a forum,
And let me preface this by saying Anime News Network, overall, I kind of like you guys. We use you a lot.
But please stop spoiling us.
But you need to be put on blast. You did back then when we put you on blast, but you're going to be put on blast again because we're on this topic. For your banner image of your news stories or whatnot, please do not use an image that would, for any other circumstance, spoil anything of significance, even within that episode.
It's not just the banner. Their opening description is exactly what it is. But whenever you look at it from like the front page of Anime News Network, it's right there.
Right.
You can see it.
Right. So it's not even I could see the word spoilers and then it would tell me the spoilers or spoilers for this episode. I think that's fair game if you make it very prominent, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying like if I'm even scrolling through your news feed or your episode review and that's the image that I see. So of all the images of that series or that episode that you could have picked, actually should be that episode, right? Because they do episode by episode. And you chose that, like
Episode 5 review of the latest season of My Hero Academia. You can't believe what new power Deku just got. I was like, well, what the fuck? I didn't need to know. By the way, that's not a spoiler. That doesn't happen at all. I have to preface that. But if you saw that, you'd just be like, dude, like, I'm still on episode 2. What the fuck?
actually that is kind of okay. I mean, that's not good at all.
It's still not okay.
But still not okay. But that to me is like, well, technically you don't know what power. Okay, you're spoiled he got in this hypothetical situation. He gets a power, but you don't know what power that is, right? So it's like a half spoiler, right? But I'm talking about like there was a huge cliffhanger or reveal the episode before, and the image that you show is like, or for argument's sake, so and so character you thought, the stereotypical thing you thought they died, and then all of a sudden you see an image where the character is clearly there. And there was some indication that it is not a flashback or something. So then you're like, oh, great. The fuck?
Yeah. But I think relating this back to like what you brought up as the topic for this discussion.
Exactly. Yeah, sure.
I think like it's definitely a balancing act in terms of maintaining hype and eyes on your product, especially if you are a producer, you're an advertiser, you're in marketing. So whenever you have like new seasons coming up and then you have trailers or previews or the concept art come out.
Hold on to your butts because that's another topic of discussion.
Like those things when they come up, it's like, how much of my product can I show now that would be able to entice people but at the same time not give away the secret sauce?
Exactly, because going off of what you just said about promotional material, PV or trailers or even voice cast announcements, press releases, even plot summaries on my anime list or plot summaries in terms of official plot synopsis released by the animation studio, the creators, everything, right? Like, what can you do as a creator? Because you're kind of stuck, right? You need to give something out there, but the moment you do, you can't take it back. I mean, how many times have we seen like people try to tweet something and then they delete it almost instantaneously, but somehow someone got an image and then circulates it everywhere?
Or the other thing that people do, specifically studios, they release B-roll. So, like, for example, in Avengers Endgame, where they released a certain scene in the trailer, and it was, like, the massive, like, coming together of, like, all the Marvel superheroes.
Oh, spoilers. Oh.
It was in the trailer, right? Because that's not a spoiler. It's a trailer. So then they have everyone, so like Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, everything, right? Except it never happens in the movie.
Or it would have happened, but it got cut.
Yeah.
There's so many other of these factors, right? And then people feel betrayed, or, hey, that trailer was in the trailer. Sorry, that footage was in the trailer. I didn't want to know that. What the fuck? There's all these, like, different spectrums of backlash or acceptance, or sometimes, oh, cool. Like, I didn't know that movie is coming out. Let's watch it.
Let's talk about games, right? When people do, like, for example, like, any like an E3 or like an Xbox conference or whatnot, and then they start showing gameplay, game footage live on screen, except that that's actually just a beta test or that was never actually in the game.
So, but here's the thing. I'm less angry about those because
they're working with time restraints. They have to show something.
And usually that demo is more of like either the game mechanics or anything. And generally, almost universally, they generally don't do plot because you can't do it within that short period of time, and they don't want to ruin their sauce.
The thing that really pissed me off, actually, specifically, was when they did a showcase of the engine that they were using to power Kingdom Hearts 3, and they showed a specific scene, a specific fight that happens, quote unquote, in the game. Except I played the game.
It uses the game engine, right? It's just not in the game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of egregious because with Kingdom Hearts, I'm guessing, again, I don't know what it is, and please don't say it.
Kingdom Hearts 3 sucks, by the way, yes.
Oh, okay, my sister did play it. Yeah, she says it sucks as well. But it's kind of like, there's this Disney character that is supposed to be like implied because it's in the trailer or in the gameplay footage, except it is not in the final cut because I guess either it couldn't be developed in time or there could be a very legitimate reason, but it's not in the game, period.
Or
right?
It's just shoddy marketing, you know? It could be a plethora of things.
Yeah, but the thing about spoilers is, okay, you can't accommodate everyone, so just do the best that you can with what you got and be cognizant, or just release something such that it could get a balance, right?
I mean, how many times, whenever we finish a recording and we're like, okay, let's see what anime trailers are out now. We watch something and you're like, whoa, this is fucking sick. And then when it actually shows, wow, it's actually kind of disappointing. Or, what the fuck is this bullshit? I don't understand what's going on. And when you watch it, oh, this is pretty sick. Like, Undead Girl Murder Farce.
Right. Like,
was fucking great.
How... I understand some trailers, they make it all artsy and whatnot, right? And to me...
Or they do, like, character previews and whatnot.
Yeah. And to me, there is a huge difference, or even though it may not seem apparent to many, that there's a difference between a teaser and there's a difference between a trailer. I think in the very, very early days of when the word teaser was used in terms of a promotional material, that they couldn't really, everyone didn't really, even me, didn't really understand the difference. Then nowadays, teasers are usually shorter and are more of like something to make you be aware of it. Whereas the trailer, and with video games, the launch trailer is another big milestone because that's the launch. Yeah. That means like, the game is coming out.
Yeah, Japan does like a very, very like intricate level of marketing when it comes to releasing something. So they'll have like PVs, like promotional videos. They'll have like character reveals. They'll have teasers. They might have ads. They might have like music videos. They may have like games that go along with their shit.
I mean, when there's a genre or a tag called mixed media as a source,
and you have to watch a whole damn season of anime before you realize it's just a massive ad for one of their games. I'm talking to you, Tacked Up Destiny.
I mean, yeah, you could say like Marvel or DC. There's like the comic books. There are like video games. There are card games, and everything is all intertwined. I get that, but within the realm of anime and manga, it's like I would say they even do it even more intricately and even earlier.
Yeah, they definitely, because it's like 12 months prior. Oh, this is greenlit. 6 months prior. Okay, we've announced the studio. 3 months prior, this is the cast list, and then 1 or 2 months prior, here's a teaser, here's a PV, here's a character reveal, and then they start airing it. It's a whole lot of shit. I think like this is not to like knock back on like live actions, because some live actions do that.
We are biased, but yeah,
but also like, because this is an anime podcast.
Yeah,
right?
Damn straight,
right? We're not talking about live action shit. So like, it's understandable that with anime studios, in order to be able to get eyes glued to the screen on their product, they have to be able to show something to people. But be careful not to give everything up like in one go. Because,
but going with like the teaser, for example, right, which is usually short and sweet, and it's kind of like catches your attention. What can you do in that scenario when your teaser is somewhat by design? You're not really supposed to reveal too much, but you can't reveal enough that like you got my attention, right?
Well, you do it the Chainsaw Man way. You literally do a teaser that showcases the most hype scene in all of the series.
In motion comics, which is kind of like another thing that anime and manga kind of do on a regular basis, which is kind of like, I don't know how to feel about that, or the announcement trailer. I mean, Witch Hat Atelier, the announcement trailer, which is, I think to my knowledge, almost only all that we've got, minus maybe another one or two like PVs, is just like super cuts of the manga panels in high definition and like anime kuting.
Yeah.
And it's just like
there's also it's like they'll say, oh, this anime is going to release on this date, syndicating on these channels. Bye bye. There's also instances of a really fucking great trailer that gets you hype. For example, Uzumaki. The latest trailer that came out was fucking sick.
Did you see it?
Except that it took them 3 fucking years of empty promises and false hopes. And now we're finally here that the hype train, I unfortunately have to say on my end, is pretty much still at the station.
well, yeah, because there's still no release date.
Yeah.
They didn't announce a release date yet. The footage looks amazing.
It looks so good.
It looks very much.
But they also released a concept video 3 years ago, and that looked really, really sick.
That's a lie because we also saw the apology video. At least I did.
Yeah, and that's and this is like the whole like the pedigree of like a series of a creation and whatnot. Like with all these failed attempts and all these delays of getting Uzumaki out the door. Does it in any way sully the reputation of Uzumaki itself or the creator?
Yes and no. It doesn't for me and probably not for you, but the issue with anime in many ways a lot of people tend to forget is anime at its core, at its foundational level, is a promotion for the manga, light novel, or merchandise, or if it's a toy or Gundam.
Well, don't forget that Uzumaki already had a live action.
A really good one, too. I love it.
So then it's like, what's going on? The manga came out back in the late 90s. There was a live action that came out shortly afterwards. And now 20 years on, hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, why is there a Gun Gale Season 2 announcement when Gun Gale Season 1 was ages ago, and it's not like enough time such that it's like a revival, but I guess Bleach, why not? I mean, look at how well it's doing now.
It's also Gun Gale Online. Oh, but it's Gun Gale, but it's also SAO.
Yeah,
it's
right?
Also SAO, you know?
I mean, how many times have we talked about things like, I mean, what was the...
Oh, and also the fact, like, think about, I mean, I'm not sure how it was at the time, but Innocence that came out after Ghost in the Shell, right? Do you think that Innocence came out riding off on the hype of Gits?
100%.
Right? And how much it sucked afterwards?
It was terrible.
Right? So it
looked pretty, but it was a terrible movie, honestly.
It wasn't that bad, but like if you're comparing
it's extremely pretentious.
If you're comparing it to Gits standards, and it's like at least Gits was like, yeah, there was a lot of pretentious philosophy in there, but it made sense and they articulated it really, really well. This one was just regurgitation of shit that like you do not need to be told over and over and over again.
Gits is cool. Gits Innocence is just a C.
You hear that, boys and girls? Ghost in the Shell is cool.
It's
Jason
radical, bruh. Okay, but let's take another example. Zom 100. The live action and the anime adaptation is happening pretty much simultaneously. Well, pretty close, at least,
They
right?
released the live action like 3 weeks. Oh, they announced it, and then now it's on Netflix like 3 weeks after Zom 100 the animation came out.
That is such a crazy thing where it's literally like an oversaturation and over like stimulation of the property.
Like you get why they're doing it in the sense that they're trying to capture 2 different audiences, one that love anime and one that loves like live action. But when you're releasing it at the same time, it kind of feels like you're cannibalizing your viewer count.
Like if I were to tell you, hey, okay, by the way, what I'm about to say is not happening as of recording is, oh, Alice in Borderlands, due to the hype and performance of the live action, we are doing, technically it's a remake because there's like an OVA somewhere or an ONA somewhere.
Yeah.
But we're doing a full on like anime adaptation of Alice in Borderlands, right?
But at the same time, we're also releasing the newest season of Alice in Borderlands live action.
But that would be good because then it's kind of like riding off of each other.
Yeah.
And because it's not
the circumstance with Psalm 100 is that they're both releasing fresh material, brand new material at the same time.
Yep. And technically, again, we have not watched the live action, but it's like they're all starting with the same plot beats and the same point in the manga.
I mean, mid-8's on my anime list right now, so
Yeah, it's good.
doing really well. Who knows how the live action is going to go?
But also, then let's jump around to how the My Anime List score, or even how people put their scores, affected a recent show, namely being Dangers in My Heart Will. Like the whole, like, oh, it gets good later on, so, like, you're going to have to drudge through the crap now. But trust me, it's all worth it. And it can very well be true. Judging by the reception, the score, and everything, it is very true. But imagine, like, how is it possible that almost everyone had a certain perception, or if you were to go to My Anime List has a perception, then all of a sudden once the season is over, or once, you know, like it reached a certain threshold of episodes, you know, with any other seasonal, it jumps massively in score. But then maybe by then, a lot of people would have checked out that probably would have continued watching.
Yeah. I think it's also just depends on how you go about choosing anime in terms of like what you want to watch, right? Like
Right.
For a while I've said before on the podcast, I used to just look at the top 100 on my anime list and just go through them, right? So if we just look at what we have right now, right? Number 1 is still, you know, FMA Brotherhood. Number 2, you have Steins Gate. Then you have Bleach, the latest season. The latest part.
The
first
latest
part.
first part, yeah.
Then you have a bunch of Gintama. You have a bunch of Attack on Titan still. You have like some Kaguya-sama. You have Hunter x Hunter. You also have Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Fruits Basket, the final.
Okay, let's take Legend of the Galactic Hero, which is something that almost I'm certain is going to be a very interesting.
Yeah, anybody that uses my anime list knows Legend of the Galactic Heroes, because you would not have not looked at the top 50 and not seen Legends of the Galactic Heroes.
You would know. I think everyone who checks out the top, 100 list will know 3 things about Legend of the Galactic Hero. A is extremely highly ranked, obviously, due to its placement. The second thing is that it's like over 100 episodes. And the third thing is that it, as of right now, it's old as fuck. So
Do you want to take a stab and see like when it released? You don't have to say the season, but you see the year.
1987.
Oh, you're so close. 88. Winter 1988.
Shit, because I remember it was like, yeah, okay. I remember it was around that time for a certain reason, okay? Anyways, but how much of it, I'm actually kind of, part of me is scared that, it's not necessarily scared per se, but I'm worried that it's too late to watch it.
Well, it's also
And that's
the
like
fact
the
that
pedigree and the legacy.
it's also the fact that this is a 1988 like OVA, right? And you also don't know how many of these people that voted this in the first place had voted for it to be in the top 100 in the last 5 years. So a lot of stuff like Steins Gate has stayed consistent where it is, but I very much doubt that there's a lot of people that are logging their scores right now to manipulate it going up and down outside of like those
like
trolls.
the FMA stuff too,
Yeah.
because they
or
want it
outside
to
of
be
like
number
people
one.
that yeah, exactly, right, outside of the Oshinoko and the Fruits Basket Brigade just pushing stuff up, right?
Yeah, and that has nothing, zero to do with the anime itself, right? Of course, I would kind of give you like a half pass with Legend of Galactic Hero, because when a visual looks somewhat dated beyond a certain point,
Very dated, dude.
Is
It's well over 35 years.
it's extremely more. It's way more difficult to kind of appreciate, right? That's just the way it is. But how are you going to tell me that, for example, like all of a sudden, I don't know, like when Violet Evergarden was like top 100 on my anime list before the first episode even came out, and it's not like you can access it anywhere because literally it's not even out yet everyone was hyping it to death on my anime list. Like, how is that, like, How? Like, why? And sure, in this case, Violet Evergarden is legit amazing. But the manipulation of the system, and that to me is not like what I'm trying to highlight here, but that can cloud either our judgment, your judgment, or a lot of people's judgment, such that maybe they would still think Violet Evergarden's like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. But due to having this height, pedigree, legacy behind it, it was like, oh, it's just, or like how JJK is so successful, but Chainsaw Man apparently is not that much of a financial success in terms of their expectations. Yeah, okay, if you wanted $1 billion and you earned $100 million, sure. Yeah, it did not meet your expectations, but
you still got a fuck ton of money.
You still got a fuck ton of money, right? But if your budget is $500 million, but if your budget is $50 million, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like the number matters, but within context. But it's really hard to see the context because sometimes there is none, or sometimes you won't know.
I think it's just, there's so many avenues that people can go down in terms of how to choose what anime they watch. So it could be their ranking on My Anime List. It could be their rankings on IMDb. So rankings in general, right? It could be the popularity as well. It could just be down to the studio. It could be down to whether it fits your tastes, and it could also be down to other smaller but also integral parts like the voice cast, the directors, the team that works behind it. Right?
Then
Just
you have Anitubers and influencers and people like us. What?
Yeah, listening to our podcast or listening to other podcasts. Don't watch ours.
Yeah, because our words are absolute, no cap. Okay, anyways, what? Sorry, that was really lame. Okay,
damn Jason Bussin. Yeah,
yo, I'm straight up pimping, man. Okay, so
for real. Yeah,
for real. No, for real, or for real.
For real.
Damn. Okay. There is just this. It's okay. Let me ask a self-answering question. Is it possible to be unbiased? The answer is no. It's impossible. In almost every sense of that word.
It's truly hard to be purely neutral in any circumstance.
Unless the only other instance is literally I sit down and then I just watch anime and whatever spits out is the thing that I watch.
The only instance I can think of is if you are the only person to watch and have any say. Then you could be neutral because you're literally the only person that to talk about. But the problem is, whatever show you watch, there's probably already like 100,000, if not like 100 million people already watching this shit.
Also, we're human beings and we're social creatures. So
and therefore, within that crowd, you might just be a silent minority amongst like a loud majority. Or on the inverse, you could also have a loud minority that are like, hey, stop knocking down on our SAO and start pushing this stuff in terms of the mal ratings and all that,
Okay, so let's say then, hypothetically, Jason Will, if everything that you said is like external factors, I get it. Yeah, sure. All of this makes sense. It could apply even to live action. But this is like before or during. What about after? And I'm like, very true. Because when, for example, a lot of people finish a show, they would seek either the opinions of others they know or online. And it is extremely possible that it gets changed. Your score or impression gets changed based on someone else's input or opinion. And sometimes could even be positive because there's like, oh, I didn't realize that this was a metaphor, or I didn't notice this thing, or I looked at it differently, right?
Or it could just be that something was a classic back then, but it looks like absolute garbage now. I mean, okay, look, this is a live action, but I love me some Ultraman. So I watched the Ultraman Tiga movie back 25 years ago, and I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. It was fantastic. It was fucking like the animation was super dope.
It was the bee's knees.
It was straight up bee's knees, and I was like 12 years old when I watched that movie. I rewatched the movie again like 2 months ago. And holy shit, I do not remember how awful it actually looked. Because sometimes whenever you see like the actors actually doing like backflips, you can actually sometimes see like the action, like the
Like
wires.
the wires?
Yeah, you can actually still see some of them and all that, and like the actual like power beams that shoot out of their arms and all that. It actually is very shoddy and janky. So again, like I'm using the extreme example of what I remember as a child and what I'm watching currently as an adult, and clearly the two don't connect, right? But the same could apply when you're trying to talk about a masterpiece that was from like the 1980s and 1990s, and trying to, I mean, dude, like there are so many goddamn movies like Citizen Kane that are like so reputed, like long time ago and still to this day. But then I tried watching it when I was like in high school, and I thought it was fucking dog shit, right? So it really just comes down to like you said,
And is that a right opinion to have? And by the way, the next question I'll ask is, why is it have to be right or wrong?
yeah.
That's the other thing too, right? Like, why can't it just be your opinion?
Does someone's opinion actually matter?
And the answer is yes and no, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's all
That's
just
the real
gray,
answer.
right? You can't like just because you like something doesn't mean that someone else is gonna like it, and the inverse is true, right? Like some people, like people love the shit out of Breaking Bad. I have not watched it because I'm just lazy. But then there's also people that are like, I absolutely fucking love Game of Thrones. This instance, I fucking hate Game of Thrones.
Oh, I fucking love Ozark. Oh, then you will like Breaking Bad. And then when you watch Breaking Bad, it's like, oh, it's like Ozark. And then everyone's like, no, it's the other way around. And then I'm like, okay.
I'm still saying it's good, but yeah, but you're saying one's better than the other. I didn't say that. But when you say you're referring this to Ozark, then you clearly
You're
like
implying, right? Because Madoka Magica is that for me, because I kind of have a soft spot for magical girl genre, and of course when you talk about like dark and gloomy and like grime of flipping a genre on its head, Madoka Magica is like the pinnacle of that. But I watched Madoka Magica way later than it aired, or when the fervor was like around that, when all of a sudden everything started to be kind of dark and edgy, right? So then when I watched Madoka Magica, I'm like, is that it? Like, it's not bad at all, again, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that I have to self-justify that, oh, it's not that bad, or oh, like, like
when you're watching something and it's like, oh wow, this is rated like a 9.5. That's
hypothetically, right?
So that means
or high eights,
so that
right?
means I must enjoy it. So when you're watching it, it actually molds your viewing experience, where you're like super high expectations, but when it starts falling short, it feels like the pitfalls are deeper than
you're right.
Yeah,
So when Violet Evergarden was ranked top 100 before it even aired, it did set expectations, right? Or the other thing is that it creates self-doubt. Like, am I really being objective about it?
Or am I just not good enough to appreciate what I'm watching?
Yeah.
Like it's those inner monologues where it's like, why is it that so many people love Steins Gate, but no matter what, even though I watched the second half of it, I still don't like it. That's not me. I love it, but there are going to be people that watch the whole thing and just think, oh, it's just people who are Steins gatekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the Steins gatekeepers. Like, oh, you're just not smart enough to understand it, or like you don't fully appreciate the story writing.
Yeah,
like,
when maybe they didn't even know it, but then they had to like Google it or wiki it or whatever, right? In order,
because people like I've been told it's so good that the viewer themselves tricks themselves into thinking, if
like
they say it's good, it must be good.
like a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts, right?
It's like confirmation bias. It's like, yeah, I totally love it, but deep down inside, you're like, did I really like it? Well, if I say anything else now, they're just gonna call me a liar, or they're just gonna call me a hater. So I'm just gonna go with the crowd. That's an extreme case as well. Not everybody, like, please don't like just listen to somebody and take their words as truth, right? Don't do that. Develop your own perspective and stuff. But that unfortunately is not always that easy when it comes to watching anime and reading manga, because sometimes the loudest voices end up creeping into your head and you just have to hear them even if you don't want to.
I think that's why, for me personally, the combination of at least like the seasonal anime up to current like literally right this moment anime, if it is an anime original and if it's week by week, to me is the best in terms of mitigating trolls and being spoiled, as well as just being kind of enveloped in the fervor and hype with everyone else. That is kind of unobtainable after it's finished airing.
Yeah.
Because anime original, unless if like the writer or director leaks the plot details, there's no way for you to know. There's just no way, right? Maybe you could say, oh, it's like inspired by previous works or whatever, so it might be in similar vein. Sure, I guess. But technically you won't know what happens, especially if there's a twist. And when you're doing week by week, you can speculate all the fuck you want. And there's no way, unless if you got lucky or hit it on the head or interpret it correctly, that of you doing it like maliciously.
Yeah.
And then you also at the same time have the freedom and kind of, it's like when you play any of the Dark Souls games, for example, or Elden Ring in this case, for the very first time, and everyone's trying to like help each other to solve like the mystery or how to navigate stuff. It's almost like because everyone is kind of at the same playing field or at the same starting line, even if you spoil like slightly ahead, is the exchange of information or speculation that actually enhances the consumption. That if it was all said and done, there's no way for you to have those types of journeys, because the first time only happens the first time.
Well, I'm just going to surmise it in the way where it's like, it's just plain and simple. Human beings are fickle beings, right? It's very easy to be swayed by something, and it's also very easy just to be ignorant and just ignore stuff. Like, okay, One Punch Man is possibly one of the most popular series of all time because of that one season. But then when season 2 came out, and it was absolutely awful in some people's eyes, they just derided it, left it, give up on the fandom. I watched season 2, and I didn't think it was that bad. But it was because of how much it propelled, like how much season 1 propelled the popularity of One Punch Man to the top, that people just got so betrayed, even though it was just a mediocre second season.
And that was like kind of like the inverse of usually you would get, Promised Neverland season 2, where it's anime original content, even though they're a source. In this case,
now, yeah, I think that with One Punch Man, I think the reputation still holds just because of how good season 1 was, and that season 2 really wasn't that bad. But I think the reputation of Promised Neverland took a massive hit, because when you have the creator of the manga and the first season come out and say, yeah, no, I completely approved of everything that happened in season 2, and it tanked, I think there was a little more hatred towards TPN.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm not trying to... I was just trying to highlight it's like the other side of that coin, right? Where, in my knowledge of it, is that the plot details and the plot beats and what happens is, to my knowledge, is still as faithful as to the web manga or the manga for One Punch Man season 2.
Yeah.
But the production, and I guess in many ways the quote-unquote love and passion of it, was very much a step down from season 1.
Yeah.
So then the disparity...
And I think like the hatred towards it was twofold. One, in the sense that people just derided the One Punch Man series, and two, people just started lashing out at JC's staff.
Exactly, right? Because, they fucked it up. Or imagine when Studio Dean got, what was it, 7 Deadly Sins.
Oh my god!
And they memed it to death.
So many people on Twitter were just ragging on it.
I mean, rightfully so. Some of that footage looked horrendous, right? And we have our biases towards Studio Dean, but at the same time, like, fucking, like, what the fuck? Or like, Mappa now has Attack on Titan. Like, what the fuck? What about Wit Studio? Wit Studio betrayed. I'm going to review bomb all their shit. Or Mappa will never do a good job. So no matter what they do, I'm going to review bomb this anyways.
We were also a bit turncoaty as well. But for the longest time, we would just shit on Studio Pierrot. And then all of a sudden, they drop Akudama Drive. And we're like, oh, dude, I love Pierrot now. But it's like, just 2 minutes ago, you were fucking hating on it, you know? Like... Don't get me wrong. There's still a lot of things that Pierrot did wrong, right? And those are things that we'll never forget. But it just shows that it's very easy to just sway people with just one good thing or one bad thing, right? Like you get enough people to overhype something, and all of a sudden now it's like I don't give a shit about Chainsaw Man, but I love Fujimoto. But because people wouldn't shut the fuck up about Chainsaw Man, that's why I'm not interested in it. Or maybe not enough people are talking about something, and I want to be the loudest voice, and I want to start telling people, no, it's true. You have to watch Boku no Pico or whatever. Don't watch Boku no Pico, but
No.
they're like as an extreme example, right? There are cases where it's just you just try and see who's going to navigate your light in this darkness, right? There's going to be points when like, you just find like a show that is absolutely like amazing, but because of how many people on the outside are just overhyping it and like just giving you like high expectations, that it just derides your experience. Like once you hit rock bottom for something, like at least you know the direction of up, right? So then like when you start watching something and it's shit, or because you watch something that's really, really good, but because people won't start talking about it and you just really like ruin your experience of it, I think you basically like have to remove yourself from whether or not like a pedigree, whether or not the acclaim of a series holds up to this day, and more think about what people actually care about when they talk about anime and manga, what people actually seek, what people want to share. And that's something that's always going to constantly evolve because, that's the thing, right? Like the thing that never changes is that people change.
I feel bad, Will, that you are kind of transitioning to your final thoughts because I was going to talk about one other thing. And I'm just going to say what it is first without going into it. And we will see if we should continue this discussion or not. If not, I will then kind of try to summarize what we have been discussing. The thing is about how a creator can tarnish an IP.
Do you have another hour?
I have another hour, but whether or not we want to do it for this BP is a different story.
We may need to save that for another time because that in itself is... Oof, that's a whole nother nutshell, dude.
Okay, good.
I didn't even finish what I wanted to talk about with Promised Neverland, right?
Okay, that is fair.
You
Okay,
know?
we will kind of use that as like another BP of sorts or a topic somewhere down the line.
There's a whole lot to unravel with
There's
that one
so
too.
much at least to unravel for sure, because even how I feel that the song Unravel is one of the dumbest, stupidest songs ever created on this planet, I am also apparently emphatically wrong about it. So look, it is what it is.
I think
So,
like 400 million people would like to have a word with you.
hey, and 400 million people, I can tell them to go fuck
I
themselves.
thought you was like, suck my dick.
I was about to say, I just said go fuck themselves. But look,
Lick my sack.
no, because then they'll have to get near me. Oh, damn. Okay. I really don't like the song Unravel, but actually, if you like it, like it's all good. It really is. All of this discussion around this topic of being influenced or affected by...
Sorry, not 400 million, 268 million.
Well, it's close, right? I mean, sure, tomato, right?
It's closer than zero, yeah.
Closer than zero, right? Sure, it's all about expectations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason why I wanted to talk about this...
Oh, now you're gonna say it at the end. Okay, go for it. Yeah.
No,
So
no.
what is the whole shebang of racking your brain about the whole weighing of pedigree and people's voices of anime and manga? Like what is it that's irking you?
Well, I wasn't going to all of a sudden go into a tangent. Like,
You have the floor.
okay. But when I was taking the shower, one of the things that came across my mind about this topic, during that shower, it wasn't a long shower, by the way.
Was how much you hated Unravel.
No, is what can I do about it? That is kind of like the next step up. Like, okay, there are all these factors. We discussed it. There are so many multifaceted like things that even some of them we can't even prevent. The next question that you or I asked myself is, what can you do about it? Unfortunately, my answer, let me give you just my answer, which is you can't do much about it, but that is okay.
I'll I'll raise you on that. And the question I do want to pose is, does it matter?
Exactly.
You know, like in the end, right? Like how you go about choosing your anime or what you like or what you dislike should be irrespective of what other people's voices are in the fucking forums on My Anime List or Anime News Network or what or Reddit or
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
And if you want to be affected, then go pursue it.
Yeah, it's your own prerogative. It's your own way of pursuing something. Let that be the way that you guide yourself on your anime journey.
If you don't want to be spoiled, just like a lot of people do nowadays, try your best to avoid it. If you
media
cannot
blackout, if you can.
Yeah, if you cannot anticipate or avoid trolls for whatever reason, then it's unfortunate that it would happen to you. I don't wish that upon a lot of people or anyone for that matter, but that can happen.
And on the other side as well, if you just want to go for the popular trends, go for it. There's a lot of good anime at the top of the pinnacle of My Anime List's ranking list.
People will judge you. I might judge you. Will might judge you. But at the end of the day, fuck us. Fuck them.
But you told
fuck
me,
everyone.
if you told me that your favorite anime series are Attack on Titan, Gintama, March Comes in Like a Lion, Demon Slayer.
Yeah, that's vanilla as fuck, but also
they're also really good.
they're also really good, right? Like, I don't know, like, who are we to say other than us being the emphatic voice of reason and logic and appreciation and of good taste and palate, right?
Yeah. The only thing that I would say is consistent for you and me is Black Clover sucks. Don't watch Black Clover. But you don't have to listen to that. What you do need to listen to are the show notes for today's episode.
I'm trying to think, like, what is kind of a universal truth that I can think of?
That nobody should watch Boku no Pico or the trilogy of series it actually released.
There's a trilogy?
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Shut the... Okay. No. I think if there is a universal truth, it's Rule 34. Is it 34?
Oh, that anything that can exist will exist.
Yeah, and there's a porn version of it. Yeah. I think that's almost emphatically true. Almost about anything, really. Well, while Will decides to corrupt and ruin my life...
Boku no Pico, Pico and Chico, Pico and Coco and Chico.
This is a bit, right? Like, you're being racist or something, right? Like, that literally... no, don't show it to me or whatever.
I've closed the page. We are no longer talking about Boku no Pico today.
That's a joke, right? That's like a bit, right?
No, there's 3 whole series and a special.
Why isn't that not called like Ginkgo, for example? Ginkgo is both Japanese and almost like a pun on words.
I think we've talked enough about Boku no Pico for today. I did not want for Boku no Pico to deride our discussion, but here we are. You can always
pretend that the last several minutes of conversation on this audio podcast did not exist like how I wish I could, but those are external factors outside of my control. But what you can control is if you could reach us, there are several ways, one of which is our email, gapalette@gmail.com, GAPALETTE, all lowercase, all one word, using the handle @PaletteGood, capital P and capital G, all one word, or through our GAP Discord. Invite link in the show description. Our intro music is our... What is our intro music anyways? Oh, our intro music is Maybe We'll Meet Again by Baegel. Our outro music is Like the Ocean by The Big Letdown. You can support the music artists that we feature by listening to them on Spotify, Apple Music, or various other music listening platforms. And our royalty-free music is provided by Epidemic Sound. If you're interested, you can use the referral link that is in our show description, but be aware that terms and conditions apply. We gotta like talk about something for like 5 minutes. That can't be like the last thing I get into before show notes or before like this episode ends.
Boku no Pico, no Academia.
Fuck you. Fucking piece of shit.